So if you've ever been denied by Chase, Truist, or PNC, or you plan to apply with them and you don't want to waste an inquiry and get denied, listen up to avoid that the next time you apply to get business credit from them. I'm going to tell you some things specific to getting denied at each bank, as well as some overlapping issues that can get you denied at either of them. If you guys want to get a direct and more thorough layout of what your credit profile needs to look like in order to ensure that you don't get denied and get low limits when you go to the banks, then make sure you go and check out my free school community, which you can find down below in the description. And that is for anybody that is going about trying to get some money to grow their business. Okay, so the first thing that you want to take into account is the age of your credit profile. So if you have a young credit profile, then that can get you straight up denied when you try to apply for funding for your business at the banks. So what is a young credit profile, or what's too young that will cause you to get denied? Anything below a year. So at minimal, you want it to be at least a year old. So that means that you started building credit, or maybe your first credit account is at least a year old. But here's something else you want to consider. If you have, let's say, a older credit profile, credit history, let's say maybe 5 years or something like that, but you have recently applied for and gotten a bunch of accounts on your credit report to try to, build up some credit or add accounts to your credit profile, get some credit cards on there to try to help strengthen things, then basically that can lower the average age of your credit report. So even though you have a 5-year-old history, your average age of credit might have decreased significantly because of those accounts, especially if you got multiple new accounts. So just keep that in consideration as well, because if that does lower your average age of accounts too low, then that can actually get you denied too. Now, the next thing we want to focus on is credit score. So this is pretty simple. Anything under a 680 credit score, you put yourself at risk or higher risk of getting denied. Yes, there are some accounts out there that you can get with a lower credit score than 680 at some banks, but the majority of them, you're going to really increase the chances of getting that denial if you are under a 680. You really want to be at 750 or higher to ensure that you're not going to get denied, and that's also where you start getting higher limits than at those lower scores. And if you're between, 680, 700 to 720, you are like right there at the borderline of getting approved. And also you'll end up in a range of getting those lower limits. Keeping in mind that this is a layered process in order to get approved and get higher limits. So this one thing is not going to be the only determinant of what limit you get, or even your approval for that matter. Another thing that you want to look at that can get you denied is going to be your inquiries. So if you have too many inquiries within the last 6 months, that is something that can also get you flat out denied when you apply at any of these banks. Now, one rule of thumb is you want to have no more than 3 inquiries within the last 6 months in order to make sure that you will not fall into the category of getting denied in this area. Of course, keeping in mind that some banks are more sensitive to a certain number of inquiries than others, but this is going to be the best rule of thumb to prevent a denial from any of the banks. So when it comes to that, you either want to, you definitely want to check your credit report to see how many inquiries you have on each bureau. And then you want to wait maybe a certain amount of time to ensure that you don't have inquiries within that 6-month time frame if you have inquiries within the last few months. Or to expedite being able to get your funding, if this is an issue you have, you want to try and get those inquiries removed so that you don't have to worry about them being there. And within that free community, I do have some steps you can take to actually get those inquiries removed in 24 hours. And I've seen some clients actually get removed as fast as 4 hours. So that is something also in their free community down below that can help you out. And look, if you want one-on-one help and support and having a lot of this stuff done for you in regards to making sure your personal profile is pristine and ready to go for funding, and making sure your business entity is looking good and in a position to also not get you denied and get you the highest amount of funding, because again, this is a layered process. There are a lot of things that go into this, all the way down to the order in which you go to the banks, because you should go to multiple banks, not just one, but it's specific to your credit profile. Then, of course, not making those mistakes most business owners make on the application. So again, it's a layered process. If you just want one-on-one help and somebody to come up with all of this for you, and you're trying to get 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 for your business within the average of 14 to 30 days, then just go down to the description and book a business funding strategy call with me. Your score does need to be above 700 for you to qualify for that program, but we can also help you with some credit issues that you may have. But anyway, getting into the next subject matter, we're going to be talking about the Chase 524 rule. This applies specifically, of course, to Chase. This is totally separate of inquiries. This is dealing with any open credit card accounts that you have had on your credit profile within the last 24 months. And of course, I just told you that the 24 means 24 months. So the 5 is the amount of credit cards that you have opened. So if you have opened 5 credit cards within the last 24 months, you'll be automatically denied just for that reason. And when you get your denial letter or your response, it's usually not going to say Chase 524 rule. It'll say something different. But if you have hit this limit, then basically you will be straight up denied. And again, just for clarity, if you've opened 4 credit cards in the last 24 months, Chase will approve you. Well, they can approve you for an additional card because you haven't hit 524 yet. But if you have that 5th card, then you will not be able to get a 6th credit card, at least not from them, until that time frame has passed the 24 months. And that is also why it's very important that if you do need to build up personal credit cards in order to make sure you look better when you go for funding, it's better to do that in a strategic way based off of how many cards you already have within that time frame and based on going for cards that are usually going to have the higher limits so that you don't have to get a bunch of little cards and then possibly still not qualify. So yes, it's a balancing act on getting that done the right way. That's why sometimes it pays to have help. Now, another thing that's going to be very important is going to be in regards to the relationships that you build with banks. Now, this is going to be very important at PNC because PNC can be a little bit tight sometimes on giving out a large amount or higher limits compared to some of the other banks. But this is also important to approvals at a lot of banks as well. So we all know the most basic thing you can do to establish a relationship with a bank is go and open a business bank account. And then, of course, the money that you put in that business bank account is going to determine what bank grade they actually give you. Of course, the higher, the better. If you only have $500 to $1,000, then you know you have to put whatever you have to put in there to get started on building a relationship. But once you get to the point where you can start putting in 3K, 5K, 10K, 50K even, those actually significantly increase your relationship with that bank. And it shows that you don't necessarily need their money and that you would have the ability to pay off any money that they actually give you. So of course, that's going to increase the chances of them wanting to give you more money. Now, going a step further from that, some banks you need to actually build stronger relationships with. And in regards to building a stronger relationship than just having a business bank account with some money in there is actually having activity within that bank account. Maybe getting an IRA with that bank, maybe getting a personal credit card, a personal account, maybe signing up for a merchant account with the bank. All of these different things can help you establish a stronger relationship with the bank. And because they see you're more connected, then they will feel more comfortable giving you more money because they see that you're actually trying to be established in the ecosystem of that bank. And of course, you don't want to just establish this type of deep relationship with every bank because everybody might not be able to do that as well, to establish a deep relationship like that with each bank. So you need to know which banks are the best banks to go and establish these relationships with, because either you can possibly get more money from them later on down the line, or you can get more money with them up front because you have established a good relationship. But of course, again, it's about knowing what banks to go to do this. And based off of your credit profile, where you live, all of those things are going to play factors in which banks you would actually want to take the time to do this with. Which again, if you need that one-on-one help and you don't want to, figure all the stuff out on your own, go down to the description, book that funding strategy session with me, and I can help you with that. But if you do want to know what banks are the banks that usually give out the most money, the highest amounts in credit limits, then go check out this video. And if you want to see how I helped a brand new business with no revenue reporting yet get over 100,000 in business credit, go ahead and check out this video. And I'll see you in the next one.